There are goodbyes you think you understand. Goodbye, see you tomorrow. Goodbye, text me when you get home. Goodbye, talk later. Little soft doors that close and open again without you thinking about it. Goodbyes with a built-in promise. This is temporary. This is safe. We will pick this up again. And then there's the other kind. The goodbye that doesn't just end a moment. The goodbye that tears a line through your life. The goodbye that destroys you. Maybe it happened in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and tiredness. Maybe it happened in an airport, with announcements echoing overhead and people hurrying past you with their own normal lives. Maybe it happened at a front door, luggage on the floor, keys in their hand. Maybe it happened over the phone, through static, with words that didn't sound real until the call ended and the silence started. Wherever it happened, your body remembers it like an impact. The clothes you were wearing, the way the light looked, the exact pitch of their voice when they said the words that pulled the floor out from under you. The way your heart suddenly felt too big and too small at the same time. You might not even remember the sentence exactly. You remember the moment after, when your mind tried to split reality in two. This cannot be happening. This is happening. If it was death, the goodbye might have been whispered through tears, choked out between machines and nurses and family members shifting in uncomfortable chairs. If it was a breakup or someone walking away from you, the goodbye might have sounded final and sharp. I can't do this anymore. This is the last time. I'm leaving. I'm sorry, but it's over. You may have felt your chest cave in while your face tried to stay together. It's not just that they went. It's that something in you went with them. People say things like, "You'll get over it. You'll move on. Time heals. You'll find someone else. They're in a better place. At least you said goodbye." But that goodbye did not feel like a privilege. It felt like a punishment, because goodbye wasn't just the last word. It was a verdict. It was life telling you, this chapter is finished, whether you are ready or not. You weren't. You weren't ready to stop hearing your name in their voice. You weren't ready to stop seeing their shoes by the door. You weren't ready to stop planning around them, texting them, thinking, "I have to tell them this," and then remembering you can't. The goodbye that destroyed you didn't just remove a person. It removed a version of you, the one who existed in relation to them. The son or daughter with a living parent, the partner in a two-person routine, the friend who could always call and be understood, the person who believed quietly, no matter how bad it gets, I still have them. After that goodbye, you became someone else, overnight, not by choice. Someone who uses past tense verbs, someone who says, "I used to have," someone who talks about them in memories instead of plans. Christmas exposes that change like a harsh light. Before, Christmas was part repetition, part comfort. The same jokes, the same seat they always took, the same way they pretended to hate a carol but sang it under their breath. The same way you both rolled your eyes at some family tradition. After the goodbye that destroyed you, Christmas became a mirror you didn't want to look into. The tree goes up and there's a missing pair of hands. The table is laid and there's an empty chair, or a new person sitting where they used to be, and your chest tightens because the room is acting like it has adapted when you have not. The music plays and instead of hearing lyrics, you hear memories. You think, last year they were here, the year before we laughed, the year before that we argued and made up, and now there is this. Your mind doesn't stay in this year. It flips between then and now like a scratch CD. Then, their face in the glow of fairy lights. Now, that same corner, empty. Then, their hand reaching for a plate. Now, the plate, unused. Then, them saying Merry Christmas in that exact way that was theirs alone. Now, the phrase sounds thinner, coming from other mouths. You might feel like you're watching everyone around you through glass. They're drinking, eating, talking, arguing about nothing. The TV is on. Someone laughs too loudly. Someone complains about overcooked food. Someone asks a trivial question. Inside you, There is a different conversation. How are you not noticing the hole in this room? How are you okay with this chair being empty? How can you keep using the same plates, the same decorations, as if the person who loved them isn't gone? The goodbye that destroyed you taught you something you never wanted to know: how fragile normal is. Before, you moved through life assuming certain people were fixtures. They might annoy you, disappoint you, make you angry, make you tired. But underneath all of that, there was a belief. They are here. Then you found out that here can turn into gone in one gesture, one drive, one phone call, one diagnosis, one slammed door. Ever since that goodbye, your nervous system has been different. You flinch more easily. You expect bad news when the phone rings. You stand in doorways and think anything can fall apart at any second. People call you anxious or overly sensitive. They don't see that your brain is just doing the math differently now. You have evidence. You have lived through the moment no one thinks will happen to them. The moment when the words, "they're gone," or "it's over," or "there's nothing more we can do," stopped being theoretical and became your life. Sometimes, the worst part of that goodbye is not what was said, but what wasn't. The apology you never got, the apology you never gave, the "I love you" you rushed through, the argument you didn't resolve, the stupid, ordinary conversation that turned out to be the last thing you ever talked about. You replay it, trying to fix it in your head. You insert the speech you wish you'd given. You imagine them saying the words you needed. You rewrite the scene with a better ending. But the moment in the real world is fixed. Your last hug is the last hug. Your last text is the last text. Your last look, your last shared joke, your last fight, your last silence. It is sealed. And that finality is part of what destroys you. Because the goodbye didn't just end their presence. It ended your chance to change how it ended. You can change how you remember it. You can change how you interpret it. But you can't go back. You can't revise the footage. At Christmas, that stuckness hurts more. Because Christmas is about returns. Return home. Return to family. Return to tradition. There is no return for you. You might hear, "Everyone's coming back this year," and think, "Not everyone." For you, Christmas isn't just a celebration. It's an anniversary, explicit or hidden, of before the goodbye and after the goodbye. People talk about healing, moving on, rebuilding. Those words can feel like sandpaper. You might not want to heal, not if healing sounds like forgetting. You might not want to move on, not if moving on sounds like leaving them behind. You might not want to rebuild, not if the new structure doesn't include them. So you stay in a strange in-between, destroyed but functioning, breathing but braced, present but half living in the past. You get through days. You go to work, handle tasks, smile when you have to. But there is a room inside you where the goodbye is still happening, over and over. Something in you flinches away from that room. Something else stands guard there, making sure no one tramples over what that goodbye meant. Sometimes you're angry at them for leaving, for getting sick, for giving up, for walking away, for not fighting harder, for not choosing you if they had a choice. You feel guilty about that anger. You think, "I shouldn't speak badly of them. I shouldn't feel this. They're gone." But grief is not a neat, respectful emotion. It is a crowded hall of feelings that bump into each other. Love, rage, regret, relief, fear. The goodbye that destroyed you didn't erase the complexity of the relationship. It just froze it. You're left carrying everything. The best of them, the worst of them, the version of you that loved them, the version of you that resented them, all mixed together. At Christmas, people like simple stories. They were an angel. They were difficult, but we loved them. They're watching over us. They'd want us to be happy. You might nod because it's easier, but inside, your story is less tidy. You might wish for one more hour to see them, and also wish you could yell at them for leaving, and also wish you could hold them, and also wish you could run. You may never say this out loud. That goodbye broke me, and I still don't know how to live properly afterwards. You may not have needed a therapist or a diagnosis to know that something in you hasn't fully come back. You might notice it in small ways. You don't plan far ahead anymore. It feels like tempting fate. You keep a part of yourself back from people in case they vanish too. You feel older than your age. You sometimes look at yourself and think, there was a version of me before that goodbye. They feel like a stranger. The question that hangs over everything is, what am I supposed to do with this? You can't change the goodbye. You can't bring them back. You can't erase the part of you that shattered. You might think the only options are stay destroyed or pretend you're not. But there is another, less dramatic possibility. Live as someone who was destroyed and is still here. That doesn't mean pretending the goodbye made you stronger in some inspirational way. Some losses don't make you stronger. They just make you different, more tender in some places, more guarded in others, less patient with nonsense, more aware of how short and sharp life can be. At Christmas, that might look like this. You're the one who doesn't let petty arguments ruin the whole day because you know how fragile whole days are. You're the one who insists on taking a photo now, not next year, because you know next year is not guaranteed. You're the one who quietly sets aside a place, a candle, a moment for the person who's gone, and refuses to act like their absence is a minor footnote. The goodbye that destroyed you gave you a painful gift. The ability to see what matters when everyone else gets distracted. You don't have to be grateful for it. You have every right to hate it, but you can acknowledge that the you knows this is real. When the pain swells, when Christmas music makes your chest ache, when you walk past the spot where you last saw them, when someone mentions their name and your throat closes, you can stop trying to talk yourself out of it. Of course it still hurts. Of course part of you still breaks again at the memory. Of course that goodbye feels fresh in some ways. It was not just an event. It was a fault line. If the goodbye that destroyed you involved harsh words, unresolved tension, and ugly ending, you might feel like you have to carry that exact scene forever. But you are allowed to widen the frame. That goodbye was the last chapter. It was not the whole book. You can remember the arguments, the flaws, the abruptness. You can also remember the mundane kindnesses, the stupid jokes, the 1,000 ordinary days when no one thought to take a picture because nothing special was happening. Grief sometimes zooms in too close, locking you on the worst moment. Part of healing, not erasing, just softening, means backing up the camera a little. You loved them and lost them. You were destroyed by that goodbye. You are also more than that goodbye. One day, maybe not soon, you might find yourself telling someone younger about them. Their laugh, their habits, their way of doing Christmas, their stubbornness, the way they embarrassed you, the way they comforted you. You'll feel the old ache as you speak. But you might also feel a flicker of something else, a strange, quiet pride that you survived loving them enough for their absence to hurt this much. Destroying you was never their purpose, even if the way they left felt like that. The destruction is what happens when a deep connection is cut. What you do with the ruins is not a betrayal of them. It's a continuation. You can build something small in the middle of that wreckage, a ritual, a kindness, a decision to love someone else more honestly, because you know how fast it can end. This Christmas, when you feel the weight of that goodbye settling on your chest like it always does, you don't have to pretend it didn't happen. You can light a candle, say their name, whisper, "You broke me when you left." And then, just as quietly, add, "I'm still here," because the goodbye that destroyed you is part of your story, but it is not the last line. You are